Good morning, everyone. I am Arnaud Boris, Lubmarine manager from America Zone. We are starting our webinar for PowerGen in America. Today we have some guests with us, but we will wait a bit of time to make sure that all our attendees, all our the people we invited are well connected. I would like to welcome everyone from Caribbean zone, from Central American zone, and from South American zone. With me, we have Carlos Arroyo, the Lubmarine manager for Caribbean and Central America, and we have also Gabriel Andeta, the PowerGen manager for Lubmarine activity worldwide. I will present the agenda. If you can go to the next slide, please, Carlos. Yes. So we are here today to discuss and to present the technical and product solution that Lubmarine proposed for PowerGen activity, and especially for the PowerGen using marine engine. So Carlos will present briefly Lubmarine at a glance, the activity that we have globally, and then we will pass it on to Gabriel to present the engine-based power generation market trends and information regarding the product and service that we propose. And then we will have a 15 minutes Q&A to reply to your question. I take the opportunity to mention that in case some of you prefer asking the question in your own language, Spanish or Portuguese, with Carlos and with Gabriel, we can translate the question and reply it in English or even sometimes in Spanish if necessary. So let's go to the next slide. I'm hoping that everyone has been able to connect. Now it's 9:02, so I will present this slide to give everyone the time to connect. So, what is the ambition of TotalEnergies and why we have changed the name from Total to TotalEnergies? Our company is willing to participate actively in the ambition of tackling the climate challenge. And as an energy provider, our aim is to improve energy efficiency. For that, we count on three pillars. First of all, to promote the gas as energy allowing to reduce the carbon footprint compared to traditional fuel oil. Secondly, to develop renewable energy. So we are actively promoting and developing projects in solar and wind energy, and to propose new energy like biofuel that also reduce the carbon footprints. And in 20 years, we aim at having 20% of our portfolio with biofuel. As an example, we will move to the next slide that Carlos will continue speaking about how Lubmarine propose solutions for the PowerGen activity and Lubmarine globally. Thank you, yes. Carlos.
Thank you, Arnaud. Welcome. Good morning, everybody in the zone. For those of you that don't know me, I am Carlos Arroyo. I am the marine manager for the zone. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to let you know a little bit about Lubmarine as a worldwide business unit. We are part of TotalEnergies Lubrications. And this is for all of you to know that recently the company changed the corporate name to TotalEnergies, and this is part of the ambition of the company to be a world-class player in the energy transition. Where we come from, Lubmarine has more than 60 years experience in the market delivering lubricants and services. During these years, we have achieved important milestones. Most important is a legacy of more than 4,000 days without any accidents. Product developments like the Lucia Universal and the environmental acceptable lubricants, amongst many others. So, where do we stand? We are the number two worldwide player with over a market size of roughly 2 million tons of marine lubricants. We are a group of 200 people. We supply 1,000 ports, 100 countries, and we have 60 blending plants all over the world. And important that 40% of deliveries that Lubmarine does are in Singapore. So, one industry in different markets. Thanks to our product portfolio and the logistics, we can support our customers that need an agile and reliable service, as well as high quality products. For the local markets, I just wanted to point out some of our partners in the zone. And obviously, thanks to those of you who are present for trusting Lubmarine to service your plants. Working closely with the OEMs, our teams are committed to create new products and improve the existing ones to adapt and respond to the OEM's needs. Our research centers on work. Through our centers in France, Lubmarine looks to anticipate and adapt our product technology to fast changing markets and customer needs. Some of them can be the single oil concept for cylinder oils, fuel economy engine oils, the environmental acceptable lubricants, and lubricants for LNG fuel engines, and future fuels that are coming, ammonia and hydrogen. And last but not least, we offer a first-class support where you need it, when you need it, wide range of technical services that we offer to accompany our customers to monitor and ensure their equipments are working in peak conditions. So I would like to thank everybody for your participation. Welcome to the Lubmarine Power Generation webinar, and I will let the floor to Arnold.
Thank you, Carlos. Just a last message. We will broadcast this webinar also later on through a link in order to everyone access to the webinar, and for those who couldn't attend this morning, they could see the webinar later on. So, Gabriel, Senior Gabriel, up to you. We will switch to your presentation, and thank you for your participation to this webinar for America Zone.
Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to be here today with you. I'm Gabriel Landaeta, manager for power generation segment within Lubmarine. So part of the global structure of Lubmarine, and bringing solutions and trying to assist all the geographical zones to develop power generation business to the company. So today I'm going to present an agenda based on the market trends of the engine-based power generation market. Well, first of all, welcome, and well, I hope next time we will do it live, like in the picture. That should be me some years ago with hair, and displaying these type of events that we do for customers all across the world. So I really hope we can meet live very soon. So our agenda today, I'm going to make a quick track of the power generation markets in Latin America. So 3 zones composing Latin America: Central America, the Caribbean, and South America. We're gonna speak of what we see as a evolution for each of the fuels that we are going to speak about. Some of the lubrication challenges that we foresee for these markets, and last but not least, the products and services. Starting with the market trends, please don't hesitate, as Arno mentioned, to put your questions on the chat box. I'll be very glad to answer them as long as they come. So let's talk about our market trends. So I would like to, I selected for this chapter to start with the Caribbean, of course. I will start by the Caribbean, and I picked 2 years to compare the market and the energy mix, 2009 and 2021. Why? Well, these are years that came after a big crisis, financial crisis 2008 and the COVID crisis 2021. So expected years of bouncing for the power generation market and for all markets altogether. So we will analyze how the capacity and the generation, the real generation, came by and analyze the mix. So first, let's see at the capacity in the Caribbean. So we see a capacity that is in 2009 was mostly composed by 4% of hydro plants and 96% of thermal. And we see 12 years after how this matrix or this mix of generation change, and we start seeing some other plants, or some other technologies coming into the mix, like solar panels, photovoltaic panels, wind, while the hydrothermal, the hydro plants remain more or less the same. So basically, in the mix, thermal generation left the place for these new renewables. But in terms of real generation, we see the zone increasing from 148 terawatt hour to 154 terawatt hour, and the mix shows that these new technologies are being used in a different rate of what the capacity shows. So we pass from 3% generation on hydro to 2%, so a small decrease, or let's say stable in terms of net terawatt hours. And we see how wind and solar are increasing, but not as much to disturb what the thermal generation may have. So it's still a decrease. We may say a stable number of terawatt hour. So indeed, what we are seeing is region is quickly turning to gas and renewables. So this thermal capacity we will check afterwards, but we will see how the mix inside this thermal capacity is changing. We can say the region invested heavily in new capacity, probably forecasting a big increase of the demand, but it didn't follow the same trend. So the capacity increased in 24%, while the demand only grew 4%. This thermal capacity increased in 17%, and as I mentioned, the real generation remained the same. So again, expecting a higher demand than actually came. Yes, may be the case. But the growth came basically from LNG. 54% of new power plants came from pure gas engines. We can see the coal plants that are sitting in some of the countries in the region almost double. So we have doubled the capacity in coal, but there was no actual growth in generation. And HFO or diesel or oil products increased in 5%, generation dropped 16%. So this is the big decrease in the generation. We can see oil products are leaving the place for new technologies. So we are basically talking about engines, and we are replacing oil for LNG in most of the cases in general. Hydro plants increased in 8%, and the generation decreased in 9%. Also a big drop in the generation. And we see a lack of resources. The dams are not filled as they expected, so they have to operate at a lesser capacity than the designed one. And while the renewables represent 1/3 of the increased capacity, they represent 100% of the new generation. So these 6 TWh are mostly coming from renewables. So this is a big change in the mix for the region. So most of all, if you take in these figures in consideration, we can say the capacity passed from 41 to 34% average load. So we are loading the system less. Of course, we have higher capacity with lesser generation in the zone. Now let's see at Central America. So again, 2 graphics for each year, 2009 and 2021. And what we see is a fast pace of growth in capacity, so big increase in the capacity. The capacity almost grew 50%, but demand only grew 32%. So 568 TWh to 753. The thermal capacity increased in 28%, but the generation only followed by 20%. New again, coal and LNG grew in the capacity. No new capacity for HFO and diesel, so no investment. And the generation only increased for LNG. And coal and oil products lost 40% of the generation they had in 2009. Hydro capacity had a steady growth at 23%, so let's say half of the growth of the region. Renewables represent half of the capacity, of the increase in the capacity, but only 40% of new generation. So we can see a lot of installations, a lot of new plants, probably not turning at the same pace they were intended to. This is, of course, something typical with renewables. We don't know where the sun is shining, we don't know where the wind is blowing, or we cannot predict as accurate as we would want. And we can see the capacity or the load of the system passed from 47 to 42. So we can say also massive investment in capacity, demand didn't follow. We wanted to not overload and have a spare capacity for the region for allowing growth. Now, if we go to South America, 2 graphics again. This is a region, of course, where we have several big power plants based on hydro, so you can see how the colors change. So we see a lot of orange, which represent hydro in the graphics, and we can see in the mix, which is very interesting to analyze. Of course, we have big countries here. We have Brazil, we have Chile, we have Argentina, Colombia asking for very big demands. So a huge appetite for energy and for growth. New again, big increase in capacity, and the demand didn't follow the same trend, only 4%. Sorry, but I think this is something. Okay, no, I think the figures. Sorry for that. The figures are wrong. But I'm going to explain with several graphics. I think this is the wrong version for my presentation. But anyway, what we can say is the trend is more or less the same as South America. A big increase in the capacity and a lesser increase in generation. We can see a strong investment in renewables, solar and biopower, photovoltaic, especially in wind. So big increase in the wind capacity. We know about projects in Brazil, we know about projects in Argentina, in Chile, big massive projects in photovoltaic in Chile. But once again, these projects are not increasing the full generation, and we can still see the classic or the traditional technologies are predominant in the generation mix. So what we can expect for 2030. So in the horizon, this is the growth that we can expect for each one of the technologies. So in capacity again and generation. So this capacity, you can see here the technologies. Thermal technologies is still expected to grow in 10%, but we expect it to generate less. Hydro is in line. We have nuclear. We have wind technologies, biopower, but major growth coming from solar, from wind, as per seen in this graphic. So what we can see, the investment in renewables will still not be enough to sustain the growth of demand. The region is preparing or prepare for a larger demand than what we have. So this we see it will still be the case. We are still preparing for larger capacity. Generation is still at 37% of the theoretical capacity. The renewables will not cope with the growth in demand. We see within renewables, the wind is the most popular and the preferred technology to be installed, and we see this trend towards 2030. Solar panels with the new developments, new technologies of control, and of course, because the region has massive resources, a big radiation coefficient will still massively increase on solar panels. And biopower, different from other zones, will not grow at the same pace. So engines and steam plants will still be counting on oil products or coal or LNG to produce electricity. LATAM will still rely on thermal generation as a reliable and flexible technology to cope with demand, but we ask until when? Now, when we see when we make a small focus, and I will start making a focus on the thermal technology, we can see in the horizon of 2030 that capacity will increase for coal and LNG, and we'll have a decommissioning of HFO or oil products plants. So HFO and diesel will see a 3% decrease in their capacity. So decommissioning of plants, meaning that newer plants will be from LNG when we speak about engines, dual fuel. And when we speak about generation, even if coal will increase in capacity, we expect, because of regulations, to decrease in 36 terawatt hour, meaning 41% less. So this is, of course, a picture which is not very clear, but newer plants of coal are already commissioned, so the projects are already launched in some countries. But in the horizon of 2030, we will expect it to be much less. HFO diesel will decrease in 22%, and LNG, while you can see a big increase in capacity, will remain more or less the same as today. So what is our reading from this? The thermal generation is getting ready to provide balance to the grid. The net capacity linked to coal will sustain the system. Of course, this massive way of production. The zone has the resources and will use them. And the LNG, of course, being the less contaminating or less polluting of the three technologies, will have a large progress. But this capacity will, or what we see, especially for engines, is to provide balance to the grid and to balance new renewable capacities that will start be added to the system. So the electric grids, also the growth of the electric grids, especially in big countries, will push the engines from their base load to the balancing role in the future. So we expect, that's why we see big capacity but less load factors for these plants. So in some verbatims, what we can expect for Latin America, thermal generation growth will be linked to LNG, both turbines and engines. Renewables will grow very quickly, but will not cope with demand. Engine capacity is increasing, but will generate less. So will move from base load to balance the grid. We can see the region invested massively in capacity, but demand did not follow. What will happen in the next year when the economy bounce back as expected is that we will forecast this capacity to be used. Both oil products and coal will still be decreasing, I would say quickly, but in the horizon of 2030 will still be needed. We will still need in Latin America these oil products and coal to produce a lot of the needs of the demand. And last but not least, we don't see new hydro or nuclear plants being in the picture, not much. So apart from replacing a couple of reactors, we don't see it to be the base of the growth in the demand. So now, talking about technologies, first question that we see, of course, from this market analysis is that, are we all in for LNG? So engines, turbines, both are ready to use LNG. So first thing that we see is that the improvement of LNG capacity, the cost of transportation, storage, and distribution, it's linked, but the cost today of the molecule and the lower emissions is pushing the growth. This is clear. Governments and countries are betting for LNG for the new investments. We can see on that. But what we can see is the emissions. This is the first point of attraction for LNG. So it's a transition fuel. We can see a lot of the governments speaking of LNG as a step in between traditional thermal coal oil products production to renewables as a bigger part of the mix. But we ask, can the LNG production increase as much? We rely a lot on the shale gas. So we see some governments starting to speak about putting regulations on the shale gas production. So this may affect the market. So this growth of LNG should be followed by the installation of new terminals of LNG. So it's a big investment for companies. TotalEnergies is investing massively in new terminals, but will that be quick enough for the new plants that are scheduled in the near year, in the midterm or long term? It's a question to be asked. And a big problem also that is linked to methane or to LNG is the methane slip. So for the OEMs, for the manufacturers, remains the biggest challenge to control and to even to limit this methane slip. And why? Because methane has a factor of 26 times of greenhouse gas effect compared to CO2. So one molecule of methane has 26 times the effect of CO2 for the environment. So when we compare that, and this is only, I mean, we take methane slip, 2-3% of the overall consumption inside the engine, but it's not only coming from there. We can say it's coming from the fuel production, from the bunkering, from delivery, from transportation. So we have minor, but altogether a big methane slip going to the environment. So it's something to compare. And also to consider, we saw this year the big jump in the LNG prices. So once it is globally adopted and we see the growth and the expectation, will prices remain as low as they were when the project was casted? So big questions for the LNG, and I'm sure all of the power generation companies are asking themselves these questions. So we say from this reading, LNG will still play a major role. Not only for power generation but for shipping. We have the capacity to cope with demand. Now we see is the supply will be enough of the production of the regulation, and we know OEMs are working hard to do it, but will they succeed to manage this methane slip? So it's some of the challenges, some of the graphic in different steps, from the upstream availability, the fleet. We should not forget about the fleet to move the LNG from the production wells to the terminals, and then from there to distribution to the power plants. Terminals, distribution grid. Big pipelines in big countries need to be laid out to carry the gas from the terminals to the plants, and of course the big enemy of all these plants, which is the methane slip. Another way of opting for LNG, not being so sure, is dual fuel. So dual fuel seems like a full flexible option, and from some studies that we have, we can see a big growth in the capacity installed in worldwide. I put some figures worldwide, but year on year, you see there the growth goes from 25 to 28% on each of these zones. So massive investment. You can see the forecast of the installed capacity every year. So 2 gigawatts in average per year. 2-3 gigawatts is the jump of each of the steps year per year. But and for some producers, it represents a safer option, because okay, today we have oil products to work with in the engines. We have the promise to have an LNG terminal, so that we can play between gas, oil products if LNG supply is not good enough. So it's a full flexible option. It's a robust technology, we know very well. So you grow 27% in average. Of course, engines are more expensive. They have a bigger complexity in their operation, and of course, for maintenance, of course, they have a larger amount of pieces, so they are harder to maintain. So how can we control the cost on the kilowatt hour? It's a big question, and this is a big bet for a lot of operators in the region, especially in the region, to have this full flexibility. We will see afterwards when we speak about lubrication, it has a major challenge. And now HFO and diesel, is it working towards a disparison or disappearing completely from the picture? Let's see. So we know it's a well-known technology. HFO and diesel remains the safer choice for remote islands or isolated sites or even villages that are not connected to major grids. We know now IMO 2020 picture a new landscape for the fuels and change the supply landscape for all the marine fuels worldwide. So LS low sulfur fuel oil jumped quickly to be #1 fuel in the worldwide mix. But also we see high sulfur fuel oil is recovering very fast thanks to scrubbers. Scrubbers being this unit that helps washing the exhaust gas and removing a big part of the pollution of the sulfur contained molecules. So this control on emissions, we are seeing worldwide some trends where these control on emissions, thanks to scrubbers, are change the refining patterns. So low sulfur fuel oil is now #1 choice, so it can be available. And these control emissions on the sea, we ask, our countries' authorities will follow the same path as the IMO regulation. Some countries in the world are taking this direction. So asking plants to change from high sulfur fuel oil to low sulfur fuel oil. We are seeing some requests to install scrubbers in these HFO plants, which we can account for a couple $1 million of investment on the plant. So is this a step that the local authorities will take? Could scrubbers become mandatory for HFO plants? So it may be to maintain the assets turning, which is still not at the edge of decommissioning. And we saw LNG is growing. We see the demand for LNG, the appetite for LNG is growing. And this means that the market will be shrinking. The market for oil products will be shrinking quickly, as per my opinion. So will this decrease in demand at some point will, with stable offer, will push the price downwards? So producing with HFO may be cheaper in the future. So landscape may change with the installation of scrubbers in new plants. So even if it's we're speaking about major investments in a power plant, we see from the shipping industry the emissions can be still controlled when burning oil products. So this is something to consider. And when we compare and when take in consideration methane slip, the equation may be good for oil products, because when we take more figures from some entities, we can consider that oil engines are producing 0.65 kilograms of CO2 per kilowatt hour. On top of that, we have SOx. We know we can control them thanks to scrubbers. We have NOx. We know we can control NOx thanks to selective catalytic reduction or through SCR systems. And when we compare to LNG with the methane slip, of course, we don't have SOx. We have a larger amount of NOx. We can still control them with post-treatment, but considering methane slip, we can see a larger emission of CO2, equivalent CO2 emissions to the atmosphere. So oil products can still be on the picture in the future when all these figures are considered. All right. Once we check about the fuels, let's discuss about lubrication challenges. So I'm going to go quickly through LNG. I will leave you this picture of the options that TotalEnergies have for lubricating LNG engines. So of course, this range of product is worth thinking of the challenges that are brought by burning LNG. So our biggest arguments are big quality of products, larger resistance to varnish. All of our R&D is aimed to control varnish, to control oxidation, or let's say fast oxidation of the oil, to extend the lifespan of the lubricants. So and of course the control of the deposits, very low ash, high TBN technologies. We have approvals from all the operators or all the manufacturers. So you can consult, of course, our range of products to either usage of natural gas, biogas, or landfill gas. All right. I want to make a focus on dual fuel engines. I spoke before. We see for dual fuel engines, of course, 3 operational modes. We can imply these great challenges in lubrications. So we have 2 fuels, 2 injectors in the combustion chamber that may require 2 different lubrication strategies. So LNG, low BN, high resistance to oxidation. HFO, high BN, large detergency. So chemically speaking, it's 2 different molecules. We cannot have both all these characteristics combined. And the lubricant, according to the OEM recommendations, is defined according to the most impacting fuel in the combustion chamber. Most of the time, pilot fuel being or HFO or diesel. Whenever it goes to larger than 3%, we should opt for the high BN and detergent lubricant. Also, we must consider that combustion temperatures for LNG overpass the HFO diesel's temperature. So these conditions make the lubricant to be prone to oxidation and nitration, which may shorten the lifespan of the lubricant to half. And in continuous gas mode and high BN, when we use continuous gas mode with a high BN lubricant, we may have deposit. We may see ashes, ash deposits inside the piston and inside the rings, the combustion chamber. And on the opposite side, if we use HFO diesel with a low BN, it may produce corrosion. So it's a game of trying to find the good balance between the operational mode that we picked and the lubricant that is set inside the engine. So changing operational mode in your engine, in your dual fuel engine, may imply replacing the entire lubricant load. So replacing the entire lubricant inside the engine to match the characteristics of the fuel. So this is okay, because of course you can select, and if you have a reliable LNG supply, this may happen. But what we see from experience is that either the operators may choose a liquid fuel to work with. Perfect, no problem. But when we go dual fuel and we have less than 95% gas injection, we still work on a marine lubricant. Or when we go to continuous gas, which is the preferred mode of operational mode for power generation plants, we can use a low BN. The problem, or what we see, is the engine may automatically increase the liquid injection volume for some period of time, if following the sensors and following the engine setup, and it may jump very quickly from continuous gas to dual fuel, and this may bring some nasty effects on the engine. So this automatical jump between the 2 modes of operation is a very big challenge for lubricating one of them. So picking the operational mode is not enough. We need to control during operation that the amount of injection, of fuel injection, does not go over 5% for a long period of time if we want to avoid the damage on the lubricant load. Well, in this case, we see that liquid fuel, if we go Disola, Aurelia, this is in our range of products. We have 2 lubricants for liquid fuels. They are fully compatible. We can replace both of them. We can increase the BN if we are working with liquid fuels. But when you want to go to full continuous gas mode, the recommendation is to switch to a low BN, which in our range is Nateria. So, and same if you are moving from continuous gas and for some reason you want to go back to liquid fuel or dual fuel, the recommendation is to go to Aurelia Disola. So you will need to replace eventually the load of lubricant. So HFO and diesel, last technology. So we need to remember what happened in the shipping in 2020. We had 3 choices of fuel to control emissions. So going to compliant fuels, low sulfur, less than 0.5% of sulfur, or ultra low sulfur diesel, less than 0.1 content of sulfur. You could keep scrubbers to high sulfur fuel oil, less than 3.5%, or switch to LNG. So the managing of the emissions is still key. So some facilities are still changing to low sulfur fuel or diesel, but this is not massive. The high sulfur fuel oil are still there, and the switch of the lubricants or the challenge of the lubricant is still harder because for refining or for obtaining this low sulfur fuel oil, we may have larger deposits, we may have larger molecules, asphaltenes, silica, aluminium, nickel, vanadium. So these contents being low sulfur doesn't mean that it's a cleaner fuel. It just means that we have a larger amount of molecules going inside the mix to obtain this low sulfur content. So keeping the fuel system and the cylinder clean is a big challenge for the operators in the sea, and a strict control on the purifiers, both fuel and lubricants, is still necessary. So this remains big challenges, and in terms of lubrication, of course, detergency is key. Also, what we spoke about controlling emissions, but this means increasing the internal blow-by. If we go to blow-by recirculation, to decrease temperatures and creating less NOx, this amount of blow-by will affect greatly the quality of the lubricant. So we consider this in the design of our lubricants. Scrubbers also they increase the pressure of the whole system, of the gas system. So this has an impact also on the lubricant. So basically, what we say is for challenges, we are more or less in the classical system, no major challenges, but we are keeping our focus on controlling not only acid, but keeping detergency. Okay, so let's pass on to products and services, and let's speak about recommendations from all the OEMs. So I tried to put in here the major engine manufacturers worldwide. So beginning with Wärtsilä, and you see all the type of fuels, and I included dual fuels. So you may see gas engines, dual fuel, and not to put a lubricant brand, but a BN grade, because this is coming from the OEM books, recommendation books. So we are moving higher BNs from 4.7 to 30.55 in case of HFO, and you see it becomes more complex when you are working with dual fuel. So you may go from a BN of 10 to a 55, depending on the type of pilot flame that you use. MAK, two recommendations. I think it's the easiest one. Diesel engine with marine diesel oil or marine gas oil, 15, or HFO with a BN of 30. You will find, I will not go through all OEMs. You see the trend is very similar among all of them. What I wanted to point out is our range of lubricants, Nativia, Disola, and Aurelia, and pointing out the BN range you will have available from your local representatives. Of course, we have approvals and we have all the no objection letters for each one of these engine manufacturers. So today I wanted to present our fuel economy program, which is also a part of controlling emissions. First product is Aurelia FE, Aurelia Fuel Economy. So it's an innovative fuel economy lubricant for medium speed engines. It's a complete new formula. It's a multi-grade formula designed to reduce friction. From the not only test bench but from the field, and you can see downstairs the ship we are doing the test. It brings between 3 and 5% fuel economy versus regular lubricants like Aurelia TI, and it changes depending on the load. And this product is available for field trials, so for selected candidate engines. So don't hesitate coming to us if you want to have a trial of the product. We are open for this process today. These engines, the graphic is a bit small, but you have the fuel oil consumption in the vertical axis, and you have the engine output on the horizontal axis. And we compare. This ship has several engines for propulsion, and the load is very similar. So we could compare same time, same engine, same load, two different lubricants, and we could compare and we could obtain a larger fuel economy from Aurelia Fuel Economy. What I said, between 3 and 5%, depending on the load. And this is a major development from Lubmarine. This is an exclusive formula from Lubmarine, which is now open, as I said, for trials. Why we are trying, what we are aiming at is obtaining the full OEM approval, and the only thing, as you can see, the viscosity at 100 degrees is lesser. What we can say after 6,000 hours of test in the Cap Finisterre is that we have not only better protection, but we have managed to reduce the wear of the engines, of the metallic parts. So once again, a major development from Lubmarine. So we are attacking fuel economy from the friction point of view of all mechanical parts, but we also have colleagues in TotalEnergies that work in fuel additives. So this is the second part of our fuel economy program. We have developed 4 years these fuel packages that help improving the fuel combustion and handling of the fuel. And what we can see also is by improving this fuel economy and improving the detergency of the fuel system, we have an extended effect on the lubricant. So we can extend its performance, we can improve the performance and extend the lifespan, which is extremely good to have. So our core packages are aimed to manage performance and fuel economy, the fuel system detergency, lubricity improver. This is especially important when you are dealing with marine diesel oil or gas oil or low sulfur, ultra low sulfur diesel oil, because you need lubricity improver for the fuel pumps. Also, biocides for fungi and bacteria in the storage tanks, and for heavy fuel oil, especially for low sulfur fuel oil, managing wax and asphaltene dispersants. So you can. This also brings a small fuel economy from purifiers, which are expected to work much less because these two molecules are easier to separate. Now, I want to speak about our logistics when for passing from service to the services chapter. I think Carlos mentioned, but since we are a worldwide unit, we are of course operating more than 60 blending plants across the world to supply our customer needs. But we have appointed 7 plants worldwide to be our export hubs. So this allows us to have a top of the class logistic network that is ready to export lubricants whenever it's needed for our customers. So these plants are able to export lubricants in bulk or packed. All Lubmarine grades are available. Big reactiveness and proactiveness to be quick and to avoid, of course, any rupture in your supply. And we also have we cover more than 700 ports around the world with let's say permanent stock, and we can supply any emergency need that it's may be required from these warehouses. So this is our first service I wanted to speak about. We are very proud because we have been working a lot to put these hubs together. And we can really be reactive and supply all your needs to avoid ruptures. Now going back to the oil and the let's say post during the operation, we have our oil analysis program, Diagomar Plus, has a worldwide coverage. We have 5 labs around the world: Panama, Chicago, Belgium, Singapore, and China, which is our worldwide network. We have a very complete program to make this analysis and to provide a very extensive feedback on your oil or your engine condition, and try to be fast. Of course, this has to be mailed, and depending on the mail speed, we can be very reactive. One thing that is a big development on our oil analysis program is the digital sample management. So we are introducing this. These are what we call the BLEEMs, and this helps to avoid what is the traditional system of filling the labels. And this small tag contains all the information for your machine. So once you have drawn the sample from your engine, you just have to flash this tag with your phone. With any smartphone that can have the application for this, and the sample will go through. You just have to stick a small barcode, and then everything will be in the system, so no mess up. All the information will be there. So and even the analysis will contain any information that you may need. So this is a major development for our oil analysis program. We can also provide, as a part of our services, all of our expertise. So we can join you during your overhauls, during maintenance operations you may have, and check with you the lubrication performance you may find. So we join you. We have 19 marine lubrication engineers across the world, so first level of service. We can also run investigations, partial or full investigations on any problem that you may have related to lubrication. We can help you during switchover, training of all the staff in the plant to be more aware of all the lubrication needs. and be or even put tailor-made seminars for you. So we can speak about lubrication, we can train you, and bring all the knowledge that we have in Lubmarine for this for you. So that's it for me. Thank you very much. I think it's time now for the Q&A.
Yes. Thank you very much, Gabriel. I think at the beginning of the webinar, we may have faced, or some of our participants may have faced some technical issues to connect. We saw that the connection has increased until later, the initial of our webinar. But I would like to repeat for those who have joined later that if you have missed a part of the webinar, we will send a link to broadcast and to see the entire webinar. And if you want to see many times the speech of Gabriel, it's still possible. So thank you, Gabriel. It was very clear, but we have a couple of questions. You have well explained the challenge regarding the change in the energy supply and the importance of the gas in the growth of the gas for the future. So some people ask how TotalEnergies Lubmarine tackle for the lubricant this question of having a dual fuel engine and switching from heavy fuel to gas and gas to heavy fuel. So what is the added value that Lubmarine offers through the lubrication and our product and services?
Well, Arnaud, this is a major step when we are dealing with dual fuel engines customers. We try to work with you, not just to be a deliverer of oil to your plant. We work together hand in hand with all the operators to know and to see whether or not the engine is switching from continuous gas to dual fuel mode. This is a crucial part of the process because we know the effect of any of these two modes may have in the lubrication. So of course, OEMs allow a certain amount of hours to work with the, let's say, the wrong fuel or with the wrong lubricant. But we are ready to assist. First, through Diagomar Plus, of course, we monitor the oil quality and we can detect whether or not we may be facing a critical situation. But of course, we try to work upstream of any action. And if we foresee any problem with the gas quality, or even the operators may see that, and the operators thinks a change of fuel may arise. We have faced this in some plants in the region. We try to work, as I said, upstream to have the product available and ready for the switch, and not allowing the engine to work with the wrong lubricant for too many hours, because protecting the engine and the generating asset is the key part of the process.
Okay, thank you, Gabriel. We related to your last comment, of course, the performance of the product and the compliance of the product with the operating conditions are important, and also the supply chain. So I have a question also coming for Carlos. How TotalEnergies Marine supply those products to the specific zone in Caribbean, in Latin America, in Central America? What is our setup in terms of supply chain, and what is the differentiation we have for this zone? Because we know for a power plant, the supply continuity and reliability is critical.
Yes, for the zone, we have developed a strategic logistic flows in order to have, for example, logistic flows for the CARICOM market to avoid the duties. We have plants in the US because of the frequency of shipping to these countries. And also we have strategic blending plants as well to source local markets and to be agile and able to respond, as well as to have local stock in many countries in order to supply the power plants.
Okay, thank you, Carlos. I think we have received other questions in the Q&A. One received is more for Gabriel. Any engine can be converted into dual fuel?
Well, in most cases, yes. It of course depends on the OEM. OEM is there to assess the possibility to install of course the gas layout, or I mean, I think we are speaking of oil running engines converted or having an LNG installation. But yes, we see in the region many conversions of the previous assets to be converted into dual fuel, or even to sparking gas. So or what we call the gas diesel engines. So these Wärtsilä, MAN are specialists on doing this type of task, of carrying these type of projects. Of course, it depends on the age of the asset. It depends on the location, how hard they assess this work to be. But I think the architecture of the engines may allow most of the cases to perform this conversion.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Gabriel. A question still related to this hot topic of multi-fuel and the evolution of the market between traditional fuel and new fuel like gas. You presented the market and well detailed at the beginning of your presentation, but to summarize, what is the trend you see or TotalEnergies sees for multi-fuel engine in LATAM zone?
Well, this from the studies we have, and this is of course analyzing previous years and the trend, order book, and the commissioning of new plants that have been announced so far. We see a global trend of say year-on-year increase of 27% in the installation in terms of capacity for dual fuel engines. Something that is very important to say. We don't see it in the regions, so we didn't emphasize too much. But other regions are moving very quickly to biofuels, so they are leaving same engine as they had before with liquid fuels, and they switched to a biosource. Of course, this has to be controlled, not to be a feedstock, to not affect the crop, not to be affected by the price, not to affect the price of the crops in the biofuel process. But we see many trends right now in France. TotalEnergies is converting its refineries to biofuel to produce big quantities of biofuels. We have a first launch of airplanes working with bio kerosene or biojet A1 that is made a successful voyage with this type of fuel. So this is another type of trend. When we speak about multi-fuel, we should not stick only with LNG or oil products. We also have to include biogas, landfill gas. We have to include any type of synthetic products that we may find in the market. So it depends. It depends on the resources the engine will sit, and from where it will produce the electricity.
Okay. Again, we have a number of questions related to the fuel and dual fuel. On this one, maybe I can reply, and Gabriel, feel free to complete or comment my reply. The question is, what is the advantage of a dual fuel engine? As an energy company, I guess for a power plant, the objective being to continuously produce electricity and to produce competitive electricity as per the market condition, we see two advantages in dual fuel. First is to count on two sources of energies that can be available depending on the market conditions. So when you have dual fuel, you can either have heavy fuel oil available in the country or gas. In some countries, the gas is not always available, so you can switch to heavy fuel oil, which is a product that usually you can store. It's not the same as gas, that most of the power plants are connected or to a terminal or to a pipeline. And there is a second advantage, is to optimize the cost of operation, the cost of energy, since the heavy fuel oil has a different pricing of gas. So depending on the market condition, the operator will switch from gas to heavy fuel oil to optimize their cost.
I must add, thank you, Arno, and I must add to this comment that we should not forget the role of the engines within an electrical grid, which is providing flexible power. The engines should be, because this is the only machine that we have today that is able to start within 2 minutes and to produce electricity in a very quick time. And this is essential when we are thinking of installing more renewables, or we installing intermittent sources of generation that for where the engine will fill in to cope and to limit the amount of peaks or the fallouts of the and to have a reliable system. So coping with the peaks, balancing renewables, this is the future of the engines. So we should not forget about flexibility, and dual fuel is the key for flexibility, because it allows to have a robust system, to have a very reliable, either on gas or on engine, whenever one of the two is missing or combined, to have less emissions, to have reliable power, and to control, let's say, this type of intermittent generation.
Okay, clear. Another question, and still related to multi-fuel, maybe for Gabriela as well as for Carlos, regarding the America zone and the Latam zone. Does Lubmarine, and I would add Lubmarine America, as product for multi-fuel engine? So Gabriela showed that we have a wide range of products, but maybe we can comment more what we can offer at the local level.
Yes. Carlos, you want to take this one?
Oh, go ahead, then I will follow you.
Okay. For dual fuel engines, what we need to bear in mind is we have to follow what the OEM recommendation is. So today, there's no specific chemistry recommended for dual fuel engines. So we have either continuous gas mode with a low BN and highly resistant low ash products. Okay, that's one trend for, and it's very similar to SG or GD engines, gas, diesel, or sparkling gas engines. Or we have dual fuel and liquid fuel or pure fuel mode, where a marine lubricant is needed. So you have either these two cases when we have gas engines or liquid engines. There's nothing in between that has been developed as a recommendation from the IAMs. Of course, we are in continuous discussions with them. We have our technical department is in continuous discussion. This is, of course, an advantage of being a company as TotalEnergies. We have direct link with the engine manufacturers, and as soon as something has come up, or even a proposal from our side is taken in consideration, this will be communicated to the market.
Yes, and I also like to point out that we have successful customers using dual fuel engines in the zone currently with our Aurelia TI 4020 product range using um, LNG. So it has been uh, proven this solution and it is in use in the zone.
Yes, this is with a HFO pilot flame. I think 1.2% sulfur.
Yeah. Yes.
And we have other engines, dual fuel engines, running with Disola, running with Aurelia successfully with these pilot flames. No deposits, very low amount of deposits for saying no deposit at all, and protecting nowhere, no deposits as vanishes inside the engine. So this is something we can say successfully tested on the field.
Mm-hmm. Another question regarding lubrication for gas. Is Aurelia LNG being in use in any plant presently? I can say yes, because we have a number of customers using both products whether it is in industry application or marine application, but I will let Gabriel comment more globally on our customers.
Yes, we as Arnaud mentioned, an Aurelia LNG is an historical product in our range. This let's say formula is being in use in a lot of countries. I will have to make the calculation of how many countries is in use, and many plants successfully used and proven through the years. So yes. I think it's been its first OEM recognition was received in 2002, so it will be soon 20 years that we launched the test trial for this product.
Yeah, and I can comment that when we have a specific question for a specific engine from our customer, we can go through our references within the network, and we can provide the references we have for the same engine or similar engine, and as well as, like Gabriel mentioned, the approval of the OEM. We have a question that I see could come from Brazil. Señor Gabriel, considerando as grandes transformaciones y más rápidas las actividades humanas, particularmente impactadas de las emisiones de CO2, no entanto tenemos ainda más demanda por energía eléctrica y principalmente en los nuevos carros eléctricos. Tenemos más demanda por generación térmica de una forma general, en particular as grandes reservas de gas no Brasil, pre-sal pueden ser una oportunidad.
So we will translate the question for the public. So the person asking is that considering the transformation of human activities and especially those impacted by CO2 emissions, we have a larger demand for electric energy, for electricity, and especially due to electric vehicles. Or we forecast, I understand we forecast a higher demand from electric vehicles. Will we have a larger demand for power generation in a general way, and in particular, are the gas wells or gas reserves in Brazil pre-salt is an opportunity. Of course, the appetite, the worldwide appetite for LNG or for gas is there. A sustainable way of extracting it is necessary to cope with the large demand that is forecasted, not only for power generation but for shipping. It's seen LNG as the fuel for the next 20 years to help in the transition to newer and less contaminant ways of producing electricity. So managing, as I said, we need to be really careful about methane slip. Methane slip during production, during transportation, and while during combustion inside the turbines or the engines are the key to avoid this general. We tend to speak only about CO2 emissions, but these emissions have a larger impact in the greenhouse. So it's yes, of course, electricity will have a huge increase in demand, and yes, LNG in Brazil is a big opportunity, but we need to use it in a sustainable way to avoid the let's say worst impact that it may have used in the wrong way.
Yes, and I would complete since I know from the past the market in Brazil. Brazil is a very big country, and as any market for electricity, you have peak of consumption, and the grid is often the limit that you can increase the capacity of producing electricity, but the grid to transport and to provide electricity to the point of consumption is usually the limitation for following or complying with the demand that can be very high and then very low. We have a technical question regarding wear. Is there a difference on mechanical wear of engine component with use of this Aurelia TI and FE? I mean, I think the question is the wear, is it different using the lubrication with Aurelia TI or FE?
Is the difference of mechanical wear of engine components? No, as I mentioned, well, we have two questions related to Aurelia FE, so I'll try to answer both. First, in terms of wear, what we do is to do a major inspection of the engines every 2,000 hours. So we go there, we measure, and two identical engines at the beginning. So what we try is to measure the wear of the loss of metallic part content from each metallic piece. From the analysis we have made so far, there's absolutely no difference between the wear that we obtain from Aurelia TI from that Aurelia FE. So it's a fully performant product, ready to protect the engine for many hours. Same performance, same BN as the Aurelia TI, but has this new chemistry that we have developed for the past 5 years in our research center, and this allows to obtain similar wear rates in both engines, and also what we call the merit, the deposits that may have in terms of varnishes, in terms of all the deposits that can be locked into the metallic parts. And we have a question about the field trial. How is it managed? How do we manage to do this? So what we did is to install a setup, and we install flow meters or mass meters. Mass meters is better than flow meters because we can measure with exactitude, with a very exact way, the amount of fuel that goes to each engine and that goes back in the return line. So in this way, we have exact quantity of fuel that is consumed by the engine. This is one side. This is the full setup we did, and then we split. We split the lube oil tank to have one engine or two engines running with Aurelia FE and two engines running with Aurelia TI. So in this way, we guarantee the engines, of course, are used for propulsion. They have the same load. They are used in the same rate. So we have a very good perspective of the fuel economy by following this. And I must add, this trial has been let's say, validated by an external company. So it's a complete surveyor of this trial. So we have a written proof of this fuel economy obtained so far in the Cap Finisterre. So it's and we, of course, as any other trial with lubricants, we provide all the warranties. We provide all the let's say the insurance to the customer, that if there's any damage, we of course we will cover any damage that may arise from this test. So far, in almost 70 years, we have not used the first one. We are very sure of the chemistry and the products we use. So, but everything is at disposal of the end consumer, of course.
Yes, yes. And I would add, we have a dedicated team. So we have a regional team with Carlos and Paulina that can work with you as a user, as customer, to discuss the trial condition, to liaise with our technical team. We have a technical engineer in America, as well as the technical team in Paris, working with Gabriel. So for any request, interest in having a trial, for you to measure the performance and the savings with Aurelia FE with your engine, we can set up meeting and explain everything. And as Gabriel mentioned, when we develop such a product and when we monitor the performance of the product, the OEM of the engine is always involved. So we have a regular and very good relation with the OEM, and that's why we can also help in assessing the performance of the product in your operating conditions. Carlos, any point that you would like to add? Because it's the last question. I don't know if you have received from other questions from WhatsApp.
No more questions. And it is important that we are looking for, Gabriel, we're looking for candidates to try the product in the zone or in the region right now.
Yes.
So you can contact us if you want to participate in any of these trials, so we can address all your questions and definitely try to move forward.
Yes. Just bear in mind, also for fuel additives, also the product is available, it's ready, it's OEM approved. So you also have an option to save fuel immediately and to cut your emissions through combustion. But also the combined effect of Aurelia FE and fuel additive is massive. The cut or the savings in your fuel bill may be massive. So I dearly invite you to contact Carlos and the team to have this product, to give this product a test in your plants.
Thank you. I think our webinar is now ending. So I would like to thank all participants. Obrigado pela participación y gracias a todos por la participación. Thank you all for having attended this webinar with us. I would like to thank especially Gabriel for his speech and his time for us, with us. And I would like also to thank the marketing team having organized this meeting, Hélène, Etienne, Cécile, who has made this webinar possible with you, with us. And thank you, Carlos, also for your participation. We will send the link of this webinar for those who want to share it with your colleagues or anyone in your organization. And feel free to contact us regarding any question you will have further. Thank you, Carlos, Gabriel, and hope to see you soon in the coming in the next webinar that we will organize for our zone in America.
Thank you all for your participation.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
Thank
Keep
you all
safe
very much.
all. Bye.
Bye-bye.